We are privileged at this synagogue to have devoted lay leadership. It's hard to express how indebted I am on behalf of the entire professional staff to the people who give of their time and energy to make this congregation work. Nothing happens in this congregation without the partnership between our professional leaders, our staff, and the lay leaders, the volunteers who come every single day to this building. Every single day there are some volunteers, whether they're in our daily minyan, whether they're planning a committee event, whether they're looking ahead at programming, whether they're schlepping tables or building a sukkah. Every single day there are people in this building who make it happen. And so we are incredibly blessed and grateful to all the people who make Congregation Agudath Israel what it is. I'm extremely grateful in particular to Matt Fischer, who is the new president of our congregation, who has taken this role. It's not an easy thing to be a synagogue president. I'm not sure I fully appreciate, even though we work in close partnership, I only see part of the things that Matt deals with, and even that small part, I know it's an immense responsibility. As a steward of this congregation, as somebody who's trying to balance the different needs of the congregation, to be a listening ear to you. There are a few people in this congregation who know what it's like to be a president. Those are our past presidents. But very few among us can really appreciate what it's like to have that responsibility. And so I am immensely grateful to you, Matt, for every email you send, for every phone call you take, for every moment of listening and caring, for every meeting you lead. We are all indebted to you. Without further ado, it's my privilege to invite the president of Congregation Agudath Israel, Matt Fischer, to share some reflections this Yom Kippur.
Thank you, Rabbi. Shana Tova. When I tell people that I'm the president of my synagogue, the reaction I get is similar to the reaction I got when I told people that I tore the rotator cuff in my shoulder. It's something like, oof, how'd that happen? Well, I'm pretty confident that the next 2 years as CAI's president won't be as painful. This morning, I plan to first share with you a bit about myself and my family. Second, share our journey to Congregation Agudath Israel and our connection to CAI and how and why I became president. And lastly, we can chat about a couple of my goals for the next 2 years. Sound good? Okay, well, I already wrote it, so you really don't have a choice. First, a little about me and my family. I'm a huge sports fan. I will watch and play practically any sport. My favorite sport is soccer. I also love to travel, read, and spend time with my family. My professional background is in finance and investing, and about 5 years ago, I started up a small medical device company, and I do a bit of consulting as well. My wife, Alexis Gruber, and I have 2 daughters, Sophie, who is a freshman at American University, and Marley, who is a sophomore in high school at Goldock Academy. We live in West Orange with our dog, Hash Brown. Alexis and I both grew up in Reform Jewish households. Alexis in Kenton, Ohio, and me in Central New Jersey, which, by the way, has always existed. Growing up, both our parents were very active as officers in our synagogues and in the Jewish community. Through our travels to Israel as teens and young adults, and with our parents as role models, Alexis and I both developed strong Jewish identities and connections to Israel. So creating a Jewish home was a high priority for both of us. When we first moved to the suburbs from Manhattan, we joined a Reform synagogue. We started to get involved and attend programs, but we realized that something was missing. We wanted something more. Through friends, we were introduced to Congregation Agudath Israel. When we started looking ahead toward kindergarten, we made the decision to send Sophie to Goldock Academy, a conservative Jewish day school. And with that, we called the rabbis to kosher our home, and we were all in on the conservative movement. Now, regarding our connections with CAI, and back to the question of how did I become president, the answer is simple. I was asked and I said yes. But to answer why did I become president and take on the responsibility, why did I say yes, this requires a longer answer. Not too long, don't worry. It all has to do with my connection to CAI. So let's go back to where I left off. The Fischers are shul shopping for a conservative synagogue. Our friends put Alexis in contact with Debbie Lurie, who opened the doors to CAI. And we attended a couple of tot services and a couple of other family programs. We immediately connected with Rabbi Silverstein, as he reminded us of the beloved rabbis from our childhood. And Susan's work was an immediate hit with our family. After attending Rosh Hashanah tot service, we decided it was time to check out the main sanctuary and see what this is like. We entered through those doors and found 3 open seats a bit closer than I would have preferred. Marley was not quite 2 at the time, and she wasn't feeling it, and she starts wailing. I noticed the gentleman sitting in front of me, Hank Heller, starts to turn around, and I'm thinking, we are so getting kicked out of here. And so I mouth to Hank, I'm so sorry. And he just smiles and says, why are you sorry? It's a blessing. A few minutes later, Marley's still not feeling it. There's a gentleman up here at the reader's table, Alan Gerberg, who is looking over at us and then seems to start making his way down towards us. Alexis and I look at one another again like, oh yeah, this is not good. Sure enough, Alan stops at our row. Alexis and I are frozen in our seats, and he leans in and reaches out his hand with 2 lollipops for the girls. And with those 2 warm interactions, we knew this was our place. These were our first meaningful connections with CAI. There are many ways that one may be connected to Congregation Agudath Israel. For some, it's the ECC community. For others, it's the choir or attending Shabbat services. And for many, like me, it's a lot of things. I just mentioned a couple, and I mentioned one in our annual report. But given the season, let me quickly mention one of my favorite things during the High Holy Days. The Ne'ilah, or closing service, here at CAI is my favorite service of the year. If you haven't attended, you should give it a shot, even just the last 20 to 30 minutes. I remember as a child being in awe of the tempo of the concluding service, and it's really special here at CAI. It feels to me like a slow drum roll that steadily increases in speed as Cantor Kaplan muscles through the Ne'ilah service, the anticipation and momentum building with each word. And then Howard Cannon jumps in and closes the show with the fastest rendition of Ma'ariv you have ever heard, leading to the final Tekiah Gadolah and a long and powerful blast from the shofar, holding everyone's attention, and then a sense of amazement and the murmur of, wow, how did they hold the note so long? In that moment, I feel so connected to CAI, connected by our traditions that bring us all together in this room to hear the shofar blast and wish one another a Shana Tova. Author Brene Brown wrote, "Connection is why we are here. It's what gives purpose and meaning to our lives." Given my feeling of connectedness to CAI, when Becky Berman called me almost 7 years ago and said she was speaking on behalf of the nominating committee and asked if I would accept the position on the Board of Trustees, I said yes. 2 years later, when Harry Cardis called and asked if I would accept the nomination to join the executive committee as the financial executive, I said yes again. And then when Shani Drogan and Gail Wiesnick called to ask me if I would be the next senior vice president and potentially be in line to be the next president following Shani, well, this time I said I'd think about it. And here I am. I said yes. It's my connection to CAI and everything that it gives me that makes me want to give back to help sustain this community so that others have the opportunity to create meaningful connections for themselves. Now I'd like to tell you about 2 of the goals I have as president of CAI. Number 1 is financial stability. My goal is to bring us closer to a balanced budget, if not balance the budget, by the end of my term. We have work to do and difficult decisions to make, but we need to keep moving in that direction to ensure our survival. Thanks to the hard work of our lay leaders, led by Jordan Shemofsky and Seth Weisletter, and your generosity, we have increased the number of households donating to the annual fund, and we are moving back directionally to where we were before COVID. Thanks to the work of our Centennial Committee, led by Gail Wiesneck, Mindy Opper, and Shani Drogan, and again, your generosity, we have paid down and will continue to pay down a substantial portion of our mortgage. This year, we will be introducing new bylaws that will help to ensure that we never again find ourselves burdened by significant debt or commit to capital improvements beyond our means to help protect CAI's financial stability for the next 100 years. My second goal is to increase engagement. To help us strengthen your connection to CAI, we are gathering information from you. We want to know what we're doing well and where we need to improve. How can we work together to strengthen your connection to the CAI community? An early opportunity to weigh in is by completing the sentence, "When thinking about the future of our congregation, I wish." Details on how to submit this sentence are on our website and on the I wish cards near the entrance of the synagogue. This feedback will help us as we reevaluate our mission statement, which has served us well for many years. We are forming a committee of people representing all parts of our community to help us establish our vision for the next 20+ years. The feedback will also inform us on how we can best plan, execute, and promote programs that will interest and be meaningful to you. We have a ton of programs already planned for this year. Events for children, new parents, families, adult education. Your feedback will shape these programs and create new ones. During Rabbi Lucas's installation, he spoke about gratitude. I too am grateful. I'm grateful to be able to lead this community to which I feel so connected. Thank you for putting your confidence in me and in the Board of Trustees. I'm grateful to our Board of Trustees, led by our Executive Committee, including Shady Drogan, Debbie Rosen, Jordan Shimofsky, Dan Fishman, Seth Fliegler, Lisa Mechanic, Scott Reiser, and Dori Eisenstein. I'm grateful to our incredible, dedicated clergy, Rabbi Lucas, Rabbi Blumenthal, Cantor Kaplan, Susan Work, and Rabbi Silverstein, and our entire staff for all your hard work throughout the year, and especially during these high holy days. And I'm grateful to my family. Extra shout out to Marley for making a scene at our first visit to the main sanctuary, the catalyst for creating the connection that finalized our decision to join CAI. Last spring, my daughter Sophie spent 3 months in Israel with her senior class. Before they left for the trip, during a meeting with students and their parents, her guide gave Sophie and her classmates advice that truly resonated with me, and I wish to offer it to you. He simply told them to opt in. Move out of your comfort zone and try something new. This year, I encourage everyone to try a new CAI activity, just one new program, event, or committee in the span of 365 days. Seems reasonable. I hope that you will identify and take advantage of the things that CAI offers. Come to comedy night, Shabbat morning services, play softball or ping pong, join us for cocktails. Opt in, say yes. And through this, I hope that you will find and strengthen your connections to CAI. In return, I know it will strengthen us as a community. Have an easy, meaningful fast, Gamar Chatima Tova, and may you be inscribed for good. Thank you.